Over here in the folder pane, I want to show you how you can create, move, copy, and delete these folders. And what I show you here, down below in the navigation pane, the mail items, will also apply when it comes to creating, deleting, moving, and copying your calendar, your contacts, tasks, and so on. And so you can see all these folders here. In my calendar, I just have one calendar here, one folder. So if I want additional calendars, I'd have to create additional folders here. Like if I want a separate calendar from the base one that's about my personal appointments and meetings, I could go ahead and do that. Like I did for my contacts. There's the base contact folder. I created another contact folder and named it personal, so I can keep my personal contacts separate from my business. So let's go ahead and go back to the mail items and let's create a new folder. Let's say that I get a bunch of email messages about new products that are coming out from our company, and I want to be able to store those into a separate folder than just sitting in my inbox or deleting them, as it were. So to create that new folder, I can do it one of a couple of ways. I can either come up here and right-click on the Outlook data file and go down to New Folder. And the reason why I'm right-clicking on the Outlook data file as opposed to any of these other folders that when I right-click, I also get the option to create a new folder is because when I do it to one of these folders down below, it puts it in as a subfolder to that folder. So if I want to create a folder at the same level as all these others, I want to right-click on the Outlook data file. And so what that means is that all these folders are a subfolder to the data file. So let me right-click there, go down to New Folder, opens up a little box, just start typing, hit Enter, sorted alphabetically, JKLMNOP, New Products. Great. So that's one way to create a folder. If I right-clicked on New Products and then came up and clicked on New Folder, it would open it up and you can see how that name is indented below the New Products folder. So whatever I type in there, it's going to add it as a subfolder to that. If I hit the Escape key and don't type in anything, it backs me out of that. Now I can create a new folder that way by right-clicking, or I can come up here and click on the Folder tab, go to the New group, and there you go, New Folder. Now before I do that, let me make sure that I select the folder that I want to add a folder to as a subfolder. Or if I want to at the same level as all these others, select Outlook data file. But let me go down to New Products and come back up here and click on New Folder. Now when I do it this way, it's going to give me some options than just typing in the name. So maybe I want to organize them by colors, these new products. So I got a subfolder called Colors, and I can have a bunch of subfolders to the colors, like separating them by red, green, blue. In any case, colors. Then down below it says the folder contains what? By default, I'm in the mail items, so it's going to be mail and post items. I could change that and choose something else. So if I choose contact items, that would apply to the contacts items folder. So I could select that. So I'm just going to leave it as is, mail and post items. So you got the other items that are there as well, as you see in the navigation pane, but also what you see over here in the folder pane. So let me make sure I come down here and say that I want to create colors with email messages and post items as a subfolder to the New Products folder and click OK. Get that little triangle that turns it down, and there it is. You can collapse it. So if you get a bunch of, well, when you expand it, and you got a subfolder within a subfolder within a subfolder, and it's just taking up a lot of valuable real estate over here in your folder pane, you can collapse it, and that makes it nice. Now, once you know how to create your folders, the other options you get, like when you right-click, which is easiest for me, to come up here and let's do copy the folder, than it is to, well, you can come up here on the Folder tab to the Actions group to copy, and of course, move, delete, rename. You get all those options when you right-click, so that way if I'm not on the Folder tab, I don't have to make the extra jump to get to it. I can just right-click, and there we go. It's a lot easier here, at least it is for me. And when I select Copy Folder, it'll copy the folder, the contents of the folder, including other subfolders. So it says, where do you want to put this folder that you're copying from that you have selected over here into over here? Well, you could do it to the drafts and click Okie dokie. And let's come over here to the drafts, expand it, New Products, expand that. It's subfolder Colors. Great. Okay, next let's go ahead and let's delete this. You can delete the subfolder, you can delete the subfolder to the folder here, which will delete its subfolder. Just whatever you want to delete, right-click on that, and it'll delete it at that level, and anything within it or below it in this case, and go down to Delete Folder. Are you sure? Because it'll move it to the deleted items folder. Say yes, and it moves it over here. Now when I click on deleted items folder, it doesn't show the folders within that folder. It only shows the actual messages, tasks, and other files, but not folders. So how do I find out about this? If it's in here, click on the triangle, and it's below that because it's, well, subfolder to that folder, but in the deleted items folder. So you can expand that, and well, there you go. So if you want to get rid of it permanently from your deleted items folder, because remember that's a holding tank. When you delete something for the first time, it puts it here. When you come in here and delete it, it totally deletes it. Doesn't move it anywhere else. So just right click on it and go up to delete. Are you sure? Yes. And it's gone. So you don't have any little triangles down below. Let's go ahead and click on it to expand. And how about if we want to move these folders around? Like let's say colors is no longer a subfolder to new products. Maybe we want to move that to the drafts or any other folder. But when it comes to moving folders, you can do it one of a couple of ways. You can, of course, right click on it and go up to move folder and then select another folder to move it to, like the drafts, and click OK. Although for me, I guess you could put it there if the folder actually is in draft mode. Maybe I'm trying to decide whether between it's plural, colors, or just singular, color. And then the other way you can move it is you can just click and hold it and drag it and put it right on top of the folder that you want to move it right to as a subfolder, new products, let go. Are you sure you want to move it? Yes. And it's back to where it was, colors as a subfolder to new products. And speaking of which, if I decided I don't want it plural, I want it singular, to rename these folders, give it a right click, go up to rename, left click, and then it opens up the box. Just click within it, hit the backspace key, type in some text, or in this case I'm deleting the S, hit enter, and there we go. Well, now that I have a new folder called New Products and I want to move my messages from my selected inbox here, or it's selected up there, it's the same as down below here, over into the other folder, you can do it one of many ways. One way is just to go ahead and click and drag and throw it into New Products. And if you got more than one that you want to drag over, do multiple selections. If you want to do a block selection, like from high down to the very last one, hold down the Shift key, click on the last one, and you selected all of them. You can click and drag, and you can move them all over to New Products. And then you're like, I didn't mean to do all of them. Go ahead and hit undo. And if you don't have the undo option, you can go back to New Products and, of course, click and drag it back. And, well, when I created the new folder here, it went with the default setting, which is the reading pane, and I'm not too keen on the reading pane. So to turn it off, come up here, click on the View tab. Let's go to the Layout group, click on Reading pane, turn it off, and then it wants to group it by the messages I received last week, last month, and to take care of that so I don't have it grouped by, I can right-click on the subject, go down to View Settings, and Group By, and uncheck it, and click OK, and there you go. I can just focus on the date, not have those extra bars there that are taking up valuable space over here in the main window. So I can go ahead and click and drag and move that back to the inbox, either one, on my favorites or down below, it's the same. Select it and we're all back. You can also, when it comes to moving, instead of doing block selection, you can do nonlinear by holding down the Control key after I selected one and click on another and click on that one and then click and drag. You can move it that way, or you can come up here on the Home tab, go to the Move group and click on the Move drop-down arrow. And I'll have a list of your most recent folders that you've been working with or typing in or creating. I don't have any of these here. They just need to roll off. So there's the New Products. If I select that, it moves them all over to my New Products folder. And then to move them back, you can go ahead and select them again. Hold down the Shift key, click on the last one. And if you're not on the Home tab, to get to the Move group, to click on the Move drop-down arrow, just right-click and go down to Move. It's there as well. And then go to the inbox. Now, if the inbox isn't there or the folder that you want to move it to isn't listed, then go down to Other Folder and go ahead and choose your folder and click OK, and we're back. All in the inbox. How about copying your messages? So I want one in here and a copy of it over in the New Products. You can do that by, how about apple picking? just clicking and dragging. Now when I move it over here, you see my pointer there with the fuzzy box below it? It means that it's moving, in this case, that message over here, well, not to the junk email, but to the new products. Now watch it, when I hold down the control key, it adds a little plus sign. So it's not just moving it, it's moving a copy of it. So when I let go of the mouse and let go of the control key, it's still there in the inbox. I go to the new products, there's the copy. Now you can do it that way, or let's go back to the inbox. You can, let's do the hi conversation here, right click on it, and also go to move, because in the move list you can copy to a folder. Click on copy to folder, opens up, select your folder, new products is already selected, click OK, and hi should be over, oh hi, there it is. Okay, good. And then finally, when it comes to deleting your messages, you can click and drag them and move them to the deleted items folder, and away they go, they sit there. You can also, with it selected, hit the delete key on the keyboard. If you're like, oopsie doodle, didn't mean to do that. If you haven't done anything else and closed out of the program, you haven't moved to another folder, you can hit undo, it brings it back. You can also right click, go down to delete. You can also, with it selected, come up here on the home tab, delete group, to hit delete. And then finally, if you want to bypass the deleted items folder, so as you recall, when you hit delete, it puts it over as a precautionary way of preserving something that you didn't mean to delete into this deleted items folder. That if you want to bypass that precautionary folder there, just hold down, well, let me come up here, hold down the shift key, hit the delete key, and it will permanently delete it. Not put it in here as a reserve for you to peruse through later, but it will bypass that and it'll be gone completely. Yes, it's totally destroyed. I have no hi or a copy of it that's in the deleted items folder. Oh, sure, I have from other replies in the conversation, but not that particular one. As you recall in an earlier training video, anytime you see a paperclip next to your email message, that means there's one or more attachments to it. It doesn't tell you how many or what type of attachments. To find out, double click to open it up. You can see up here we got a total of 5. We have 1 document, 2 Excel workbooks, an image, and a business card. And to be able to preview those attachments, you can do it one of many ways. You can either click on the attachment or click on the drop-down arrow. You get a shortcut menu, the least of which you can preview, or you can right-click on it to click on preview, but for me it's just easier to click on it to wipe out the message so I can get a preview of what I'm about to open if I choose to open it. And then up on the ribbon, you get the Related Contextual Attachments tab that allows you to go back to the message to see what the sender wrote to you originally, or click on Back to Message. Either way, click on back and we're back to it. Click on the 2 dudes here. Hey, whoa, intense fun. And so from here, again, besides showing the message again, you can copy what you have here, select all, save all attachments, or just do a save as for that attachment, remove it, quick print or open. And of course, you can click on the drop-down arrow and get the same options here. So if you want to save your attachments, like the picture, to your desktop, go ahead and click on Save As. Opens up the window. It's going to be a JPEG format. Over in the navigation pane, select Desktop. Click on Save. And it's saved to the desktop. How do you know? Well, we can just go ahead and let's minimize that down to the taskbar. Minimize that. Look on the desktop. Double click. There they are. Whoa, cool. Let's go ahead and close out of that. Select it. Hit the delete key on the keyboard to say yes to move it to the recycle bin. And let's restore my message. And in fact, if you want to restore it down and you can see your desktop here, you can click and drag, and that works. And you see when I click and drag, in fact, let me select the document and control click the business card. So to select it non-linearly, or if I want to select from the document over to the revenue chart, select that, hold down the shift key and click, and it selects everything in between, and then click and drag. And you can see when I drag it, my pointer has a fuzzy box below it, and then it has a plus sign. That plus sign means it's copying, and let go, and it well, there we go. It's up there, and the other 2 are down below. I'm going to go ahead and hit the delete key on the keyboard and get rid of those 3, plus this guy, delete them, and move them over to the recycle bin and restore it. I like just right-clicking on here and seeing the options. You can, like I say, do it up here as well. And let's do Save All Attachments. And if you got tons of them, that might be a lot easier than doing it one at a time or clicking and dragging, especially if it really fills up the window here. So here you can click OK and it'll save them all, or if you want to be more particular, you can go ahead and click on one and hold down the Control key and click on another, or you can do block selection. Select one, hold down the Shift key and click on second to the last, selects everything in between, or you can click on one, hold down the Shift key, select the last one, click OK, and it says, okay, where do you want to dump all these? The default's the desktop, and I can go ahead and click OK, or I can create a new folder and dump it into the folder so it's not a mess on my desktop. Click OK, and oh boy, let's minimize that, and oh, it's a mess. Oh, there's my contact. Double click, and I can take a gander here. Well, that's Barney 5. Great. Let's go ahead and close out of here, and I'm just going to hold down the Control key and click all of these and hit the delete key and move them over to the trash bin and restore the message. And let's take a look at the picture here again. Let's right click on it and we get the option to open it. Opens right up. Don't have to preview it or save it to my desktop to be able to double click to open it up there. I can just open it up from right here, or you can double click really fast. It does the same thing. And finally, how about if we right click and we do a copy? So it copies it to the clipboard. If I restore Outlook, come up here, click on new email message, come down below in the body of the message and right click and do paste. Pasted that image that I copied from the email message over as an attachment into a new email message. Great. Let's go ahead and close out and not save that. And then finally, I don't know about you, but if you get a bunch of like large size files, like pictures, they can be pretty huge if they want to give you the highest quality, or better yet, videos. Maybe, let's say 100 megabytes. That gets pretty huge. Don't want that sitting in my folder, so I could save that to the desktop. And then once I save it to the desktop and I have that there, then I can go ahead and remove it from my email by right-clicking and saying Remove Attachment. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. And it's gone. In addition to sending and receiving emails in Outlook, you can also keep track of contacts, or in other words, those people who you correspond with. And you don't have to be corresponding with anybody to keep track of their information, like their first name, last name, birthday, email address, social security number, credit card information. To be able to store that information in Outlook, down below in the navigation pane, you've got your contacts, the two dudes. And when you hover over it, you get the hover peak, as we talked about in an earlier training video, that if you have any favorites, you can go ahead and quickly access that contact in a single click. In any case, I'm just going to come down below and click on the two dudes. Updates the folder pane, and you get your contacts folder. Well, I have an additional folder that I created. But let's stick with the default here, the contacts folder. With it selected, over to the right, you can see that I already have contacts that I added, including me. And I want to show you how you can create or add contacts to your contacts folder. But before I do, notice up here on the Home tab in the current view group, People is highlighted, so you're in the People view. It's a very simplistic view, at least the main view. You just get a picture and their name. And then when you double click on them, you get a very simplistic screen. In other words, you don't get all the details that are available in another screen that I'm going to show you in just a minute. You get their basic contact information, like, email address, phone number, company, street address, and you can make changes, click Save, or click Cancel, and it solidifies. So you can just look at it without worrying about changing anything. And then Notes, and if you're good, go ahead and click on Close. As opposed to coming up here, clicking on the More button and choosing any one of these others, like the business card, updates the view down below. You get a little business card with the basic information, so if you just need to quickly glance at somebody and go, oh, there's their work, let me go ahead and give them a call, boop, 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 and then call them. Now, if you want more information, of course, double click, and hey, look at that. You get a bigger window with more details. So, as opposed to the People view, when you double click on the contact there, you don't get as much information. And so that, let me close out of here, is different from, well, the People view when you double click, different from the business card, the phone, and the list. In fact, all these four are the same. Well, not when it comes to the main viewing area down below, but they're all the same that when you change it and you double click on it, it opens up the same window, well, with the same fields. Let me go ahead and close out. So I'm going to go ahead and click on More and go back to business card because I think that's fancy. And let's go ahead and add a new contact by coming up here on the Home tab in the New group and click on New Contact. And it opens up the detailed window, which, by the way, if you're in the People view and you click on Create New Contact, it's going to open up this window as well. So don't worry about that. You'll be able to have the detailed view here. So let's go ahead and type in, well, up at the top, their full name, and it's going to be Captain Peacock. Hit the tab key, and then when I hit the tab key, it adds it over to this virtual business card, as well as down below is how you want to file this. So when I save and close this and I go back to the main view, do I want it last name comma first, or click on the drop down arrow, do I want it the way it's displayed up above, to be listed as Captain Peacock first name last with no comma? I'll leave it as last name comma first. And then if you want to get more particular, like if they have a title, you can click on the full name button, and there you go, add a title. And maybe his first name isn't Captain, maybe that's the title. Add a middle initial, and then a suffix, like if he's Captain number 2 or 3 or junior or senior. In any case, I'll just add the middle initial and click OK. Updates it, and then down below it's last name comma first, then middle initial, or you can just go ahead and change it to the way you see it up here, Captain S. Peacock. Let me click off, and then the name of the company, Dreamforce. He works for us. We like captains. In any case, hit the tab key, and then the title, he's VP. And then down below, his email address, Captain Peacock or CP at dreamforce.us, hit the tab key. And then that's how it's going to be displayed when I get an email from him. It's going to display his, as you see it up above, the full name, Captain S. Peacock, right there. So when it comes in, I don't look at this and go, okay, who's CP at dreamforce.us? Well, after a while, I'll get used to knowing who that is, but automatically it'll show that, the name, when I get an email from him. Now, up here, you can click on the email button and go out into the address book if you have additional contact folders like I do, and browse and peruse for other contacts to be able to add their email address from that into here if you'd like. Otherwise, I just type it in. And you also get a drop-down arrow, which means you can have additional email addresses. So if I go to email 2, go ahead and type in a second email address. Maybe it's his personal email address, and then, well, up to 3. But the problem I run into is that when I leave it here, I don't really look at this field a whole lot. I just go, oh, I don't have his email address, and then I type it in again when I just have to pay attention here. Email 2, oh, is there a 1? Well, no, but just a plain email here, and there you go. And then the web page address, www.dreamforce.us, hit the tab key, and so when you hover over it and you click on it, it will take you to, hey, our web page, dreamforce.us. Come check us out. Buy some DVDs or downloads. Let's go ahead and close out. And then if you got an instant message address, go ahead and type it in there. Phone number, 801/555/525. I'm just making it up, and then hit the tab key. Now you also get the option to click on the button if you want to get more particular, like with the country region. Does it begin with 1? You can see up above, +1, the area code, and then the number. And it's broken down by city or the area code, then the local number. And if you have an extension like 225, you can see up above X225, click OK. It updates it as you see it here. Or you don't have to click on it. You can type it as is. You can type in +1 space open parentheses 801 and so on, and then add an X and then type in the extension here. So if I go ahead and delete this and do that, hit the tab key, click on the button again, it updates it down below in the extension field. So this is to help you target the fields within the main field here, as you saw up here in the full name when you want to add a middle initial. So click on those buttons for extra details if you need some help. Let me click OK. And then you got the home phone number, you can type that in, the business fax, also click on the buttons. You also have additional options when you click on the drop down arrow next to it. So we have a business phone number, just like an email. You can also have a second email, or in this case, a second business phone number, number 2. And then just keep that in mind, because if you're like, oh, I don't have their business phone number, well, make sure that it doesn't say 2, that you click on it and go back to the default here, business, and there you go. And then add their mobile, and again, you can click on the drop down arrows and get additional fields if you want to go ahead and use that, like their pager number, other. Let me go ahead and click off. And then down below, their street address. Now you can go ahead and type in their address, or you can click on the button here and get particular by typing in the street, then the city, then the state, and zip, and country. Let me click cancel. If you want to do it quickly and not have to click on that button, you can go ahead and type in 101. And so I type in the street address in the first line, and then down below the city, state, and zip code, just like you do when you're printing off labels where the street address is on one, city, state, and zip is on another. And then notice when I come over here and click on the business, how it automatically picked it out and said, oh yeah, this is the street because that's the first line. And then the city, before the comma, breaks it up for us. Fabulous. And of course, if you're not in America, choose something else. Let me click off of that, click OK. You can also map it. You can view a map of this area and see what their business looks like. Click on it. And it zooms right in. There's a picture of it, street side, and pinpoints it right there. Oh, that's fun. In any case, let me go ahead and close out. And then over here in the notes, you can type in whatever you want, but for me, to keep my notes organized, when I talk to somebody or I have comment or statement, anything that I want to make, it's like a journal. At least for me it is. I go ahead and type in today's date, and you can see you get the auto text feature. So if it's today's date, it just says hit enter and it'll finish typing in the rest. And then the time. And then I do double dash, and I go ahead and type in whatever thought or comment or conversation we had at that time. Captain Peacock wants to go sailing this weekend and wants to know if I and my family would like to join him. And what I like to do also is to select the date and time and make it bold to kind of offset it here. And I'm not really a fan of Comic Sans. Let me go ahead and select that and come up here. Let me type in Arial, hit enter. I could leave it big, or let's do size 10. So that way I can really tell the difference between what's bold and the actual note next to the date and time, that is. Which brings up a good point. We talked about this in an earlier training video, that if you want to be able to create email messages in a different type of font than the default font, you want the default font to be something else, you can watch my training video on that. But in short, come up here, click on the File tab, go backstage down to Options, select the Mail tab, and then come down and click on Stationery and Fonts. And there you go, it's in Comic Sans. So all new email messages, it's just not email messages, but it's also my contact notes. So if I click on Font, and I go ahead and I type in Arial, well, there you go. Let me select it, and we'll make it size 10, click OK, click OK, click OK. So any new email messages that I create, or when I create a new contact, it'll be in that font, not the Comic Sans, but in Arial size 10 as you see it here. So I don't have to, well, after I type, select it and change it to Arial size 10. In any case, you can watch my training video on that. And then finally, in addition to that, I'll set a reminder, let's say tomorrow, March 1st, 18, to follow up with them. And how I can set the reminder is on the Contact tab over in the Tags group. You can do follow-ups, that's right, click on it, and you can add a reminder. And so that will be tomorrow, March 1st, to follow up, and also get a pop-up when I have Outlook open, of course. We talked about this in an earlier training video when it came to messages, how we can flag our messages and get pop-up reminders to either follow up or call them, arrange a meeting, send an email. I could say, well, I'll send an email to reply that, hey, yeah, we're going to come, and then click OK. I'm not going to do that. So when I click OK, tomorrow at 4 p.m., I better make it, if I was going to save it, I would do it early in the morning so I can go home, talk to my family and say, hey, is this okay? Can we all make it this weekend? And get back to him as soon as possible so he's not waiting too long because, wow, after that it's Friday. That's the weekend. In any case, go ahead and click OK. You can see up here the information bar, the reminder, send an email, starts tomorrow and it's due tomorrow. And you got the reminder to pop up when I open up Outlook. And if I don't open up Outlook right at 8 a.m., that's okay. When I open it up at 8:30, when I open it up, the pop-up will come up until I dismiss it, as we talked about in an earlier training video. And all I have to do is be sure to save and close. Let me go ahead and click on follow-up, and let's just clear the flag. But you can do that to contacts as well. And let me come back up here. I guess I better state that it was to email. And then once that reminder pops up and I email them the decision, I can come back in here and then just initial it that I followed through with that reminder. In any case, that's proprietary. That's what I do when I want to be really specific and working with people and following them up. Makes it look like I'm a genius when Outlook is the brain here, or the notes in my contact here. And then when I have another correspondence with them, I can come up here, hit enter a couple of times, and then type in the new date, like if it was They're at 4. Well, you get the idea. So I've got the latest date that I corresponded with them up at the top, and everything else gets pushed down. So I come up here after I'm done with that. I set a reminder, I initial it, hit enter. So I got this ongoing track record, which has been very helpful when it comes to certain companies that I've been working with, finding out when things are going to be done, completed, and I can say, look, on this date I talked to so-and-so who said it'd be this day. Then I followed up the next day. I mean, when you sound like you know what you're talking about and doing, let's just go ahead and click and drag to delete it, and we'll just keep it simple there. Then, oh, hey, you get a picture. Add a contact picture. Click on it. Browse through your computer to find a picture. Let's go ahead and take a look at some sample pictures. Double click and oh, there's Captain Koala. Let's go ahead and double click and add him there. Oh, he was always a koala to me. Steady tree climber. Yep, that was my captain. In any case, you can see a sample of the electronic business card, which we'll talk about later, how you can edit it and also send it out in your email messages. And then back up here on the Contact tab into the Tags group, we talked about the follow-up. You can also add a category to categorize your contact. Click on the drop-down arrow. So if he's one of our apple pickers, or if he's part of the ghost hunting group, or in charge of happy events, or a combination of any or all of them, we can go ahead and say, well, he's part of the ghost hunting team. And we'll go over that in a more detailed training video about these categories and how you can group them into the categories. And let me right-click on it to clear the ghost hunting. And when I'm done, click Save and Close. And where is he? Well, he's down here. Just look for the picture. Oh, there's Captain. And then double click, update it with any additional changes you need. And then when you're done, again, be sure to save your work. And if for some reason you want to delete the contact, well, you can do it with the right click, delete them. You can also, with it selected, hit the delete key on the keyboard, come up here on the Home tab and the delete group, hit delete, or you can double click to open it back up, and up there on the Home tab, there's also an X. X marks the spot to delete your contact. You can save yourself some time if you want to create additional contacts that are based upon the same company. For example, Captain Peacock is working for us at Dreamforce LLC, and I want to create another contact for a new employee that we hired, Velma Dinkley. And instead of typing in the company name, phone number, street address all over again for Velma, I want to go ahead and let's use the contact from same company feature by opening up the contact that contains the company information that I want to copy over into the new contact. Let's double click on Captain Peacock, and before I show you that, in the previous training video, if you don't want a picture at all and Captain Peacock doesn't look good as a koala, you can of course go ahead and double click to change it, or click cancel. You can right click, change it, copy it, or let's remove it, and then be sure to save our work. Okay, now that I showed you that, I feel better. Let's go ahead and come up here in the Actions group, click on Save and New, and we can create a contact from the same company. Click on it. Now, it's minimized down below on the taskbar, so I'm going to click on it a couple of times to restore it. And there you go. New contact, same company name, the company's website, phone number, and street address. So all I have to do for the new employee is type in their name, hit the tab key, any other information, give her a picture, type in any notes about her, and so on. When I'm done, go ahead and click Save and Close, and then of course it was copied from Captain Peacock, the company information, to that new contact. We can save and close. And let's see, there's Captain Peacock. He doesn't have the koala picture now. Great. Let's go ahead and scroll up and find Velma Dinkley. Okay, there we go. That makes sense because it's sorted by last name, comma first. So it goes from the B's for Barone, D to Dinkley, then F, H, K. It all looks good. You can also create a contact based upon an email message. For example, just go ahead and open up the email from Carrie, and right-click on the email address and go down and add to Outlook contacts. Now, I wouldn't have this if I didn't delete her contact that I had previously from the contacts folder. Instead, I'd get edit contact. So all I have to do if I want to add this, well, based upon this email address, click on Add to Outlook Contacts. You get the people pane. Up at the top, the name is not the email address, but if you want, you can leave it as such. I'm going to delete it and type in her name. And then let's see, the email address, you can click on the plus sign, and if there's a title, Ms., Mrs., middle, suffix, click cancel, type in a phone number, work, fax, mobile. Let's do mobile. Do 801. And then click on work. She have a title, department, company, address, birthday. You can click on notes to add some notes, anything about the purpose for adding her as a contact to your contacts, anything you want to keep track of. And then when you're done, go ahead and click Save, and that's it. No notes have been added. Well, give it a second till it refreshes. Add some notes. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and close out and make sure. Close out of that email message. Come down below, click on the two dudes to go to the contact folder. And is she here? There you go. Now remember, previously I had her in the contacts folder with the picture of her. I had to remove her out of the contacts. And not just contacts, but if I moved her into the personal contacts folder, it would still pick her up. Just that she's in a separate folder, so I had to delete her and put her in the garbage can. And in any case, double click. There's the information. So the only thing it does is bases the contact upon the email address. You just fill in some quick fields, and then if you need to add more details, then of course come over here in the contacts folder, double click to open it up, and there you go. So what I'm going to do here is delete it and then go back to my trash folder, which to do that, let me come down here and click on the More button, and let me go to Folders, and it updates the navigation pane with all the folder items, including some of the mailbox items like the inbox, the sent items. In any case, I'm going to the deleted items folder, and down here I'm looking for Carrie that has a picture of the contact business card, and when I deleted it, there we go, it's right there. She had some attachments, an image, so I can select that and drag it over into the contacts, select contacts. There she is, everything's been restored. Great. As long as I left it in the garbage can and didn't delete it from the garbage can, I can always restore her contact information. Just a holding tank, as we discussed in an earlier training video. Double click, and everything looks good. Over here in the folder pane, I want to show you how you can create an additional address book or a contact folder. You start with the default contacts, and I created one. It's called Personal to keep them separate from my business contacts. How about if we create a third folder so I can show you how to create an additional address book or contact folder? And to do that, you can go ahead and right click on one of the folders and go down to New Folder, and then you can do it that way, close out. You can also come up here and click on the Folder tab, go to the New group and click on New Folder, brings up the same window. Then go ahead and type in the name of your folder, Party. These are my party people. And then down below, the folder is going to contain what? Contact items. That's the default because we're in the contacts view here. And so to keep it simple, I'm going to leave it as such, but you can click on the drop down arrow and choose something else, like if it's going to be a task item. Then down below you can choose, well, scroll down and select tasks, but in any case, contact items. That folder is going to be allowed to contain, and it's going to be stored in the contacts folder right here, or in the folder pane in contacts. Click OK, and Party, select it, and oh, I have no party animals over here. Well, I can go ahead and add some, one of a few ways, by either double clicking in the blank area and start typing in their information, then click Save and Close to add them. Or if I already have some party people, like in my contacts folder, I can, oh, he's a party animal. Let's right click on Ray, and to move him over into the party folder, go down to Move. There you go. And away he goes. You can also click and drag and put them in the party folder. And when I select party, okay, by default, they're going to be in the people view. And if you want to change that, because my personal favorite is the business cards, come up here, but maybe for partiers, it's just about the people. And if you look like they're partiers, so I just want their pictures here and not their addresses. In any case, I digress. Click on the Home tab, go to the current view group and business cards. Great, we've got two. Let me go back to the contacts folder, and if you have a lot of people to move over, you go ahead and after you select the first one, you can select it in blocks by holding down the Shift key and like selecting Homies, which is a group where we can add more than one email address to that contact. So I can go ahead and do an email blast to that group, which we'll talk about in later training videos. So you can see all four of these are highlighted. So that's a block selection, or you can select one, do it non-linearly by holding down the Control key and clicking on like Captain Peacock down here. So he's in blue, Barney Fife's in blue, and then I can right click on both of them and go to Move and go to Party, and they both disappear. Or of course you can do your selections with the two here and then click and drag. I'm going to have nobody here left in my business contacts because they're all partiers. You can also, let's do Harry Potter, click and hold down the Control key. And when you get to the party folder, well, you see my pointer there, and then you've got a fuzzy box below it, and then you have a plus sign. When I go ahead and let go, it'll leave Harry's original here and then make a copy of Harry over in the party animal folder. And let's go ahead and scroll down to find Harry. There you go. So I'm going to right click on him and delete him. And then if I want to move everybody back, you can click anywhere off to the side and do Control A to select all, and then click and drag all of them back to the contacts because, hey, we don't party. But I'll go ahead and undo that and bring them all back. And what I want to show you is when it comes to creating new email messages, let's go back to the mail items here and double click in a blank area. You got the to field, right? So when you click on it, you can choose which address book, the address book, which contact folder that you want to be able to pull up by clicking on the drop down arrow and say, woo, time to party. Let's go ahead and select those partiers in there, and there they are. Cool. Now, if you get a lot of address books and you're clicking on the drop down arrow and you're like, I don't want to see all these different address books or contact folders pulling up under the address book drop down arrow, like maybe just contacts, party, and personal, I just don't want to see them listed here, then you can, let's click cancel and close out, go back to the two dudes down below, go to our contacts. You can right click on either one of these, not the default one, because the default you can't hide it from the address book drop down arrow. So for example, let's right click on the contacts, go down to properties, click on the Outlook address book, and you see how you can't uncheck that to whether or not you want to show this folder as an email address book. Can't do that, not with the default contacts folder, but you can do that with any additional folders that you created. So if I don't want that to show up in the drop down for the address books, then right click on that, go to properties, and then Outlook address book, uncheck it, and then when I click OK and I create a new email message by double clicking in a blank area, click on the to button, and how many address books do I get now? No parties, just the contacts and personal, and of course click cancel, close out, and go back to the two dudes, and then to reset it to the way it was, of course right click, properties. Yes, we do want that to show up, this folder, as an email address book, and then click OK, and that will now pull up. If you have an Excel workbook like I do here that has a bunch of contacts you want to import into your Outlook contacts folder, you have to convert it into a CSV file. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. But first of all, let me introduce you to this. You can see the name of the file is import contacts. Then it has a dot and a bunch of letters after it. That's known as the extension. The definition of the extension is that it tells the operating system what program to open up this file in. So it knows that XLSX will open up in the Excel program. If you change that to something else or delete it altogether, it won't open up at all, or if you change it, open up in a program that it doesn't understand what it's looking at, so you get a bunch of gobbledygook. In any case, if you want to learn more about how to view the extension, hide it, or if you're running into problems opening up your files because of what could be an extension issue, then you can watch my Windows training video on extensions. In any case, we'll change that into a CSV, and you don't have to have the extensions turned on to view it to be able to change it. This is an explanation that I wanted to go over so you have an idea that, let me go ahead and double click to open it up, later on how that's going to look after we convert it. So here's a very simplistic database. Up at the top in the first row, known as the header row, as you'd learn in my Excel training video, it contains all the labels for each of the columns. So like first is for the first name and all their first names, last names, company, title, and street, and so on. Then I have a total of 3 records, and the first record is in row 2, Henrietta, Jason, Grant. And notice how it's structured. It's all together, looks pretty clean, and you want to keep that in mind, or actually have your database structured as such. In fact, I recommend that you watch my Excel training video on the top design flaws in Excel when it comes to creating your database. Because if you have a bunch of gaps and spaces in between your fields, your records, it's not going to be a clean import. And so to avoid any problems, make sure that it's structured thus. And you can, of course, watch my Excel training videos on those design flaws. And then up at the top in the header row, for the label for this column first, that's not going to be the name that Outlook has for first name for the contacts folder. I believe it's going to be first name. So keep that in mind, because when it comes to saying, okay, I want all the first names that's called first to be in the first name field, because it doesn't have the exact name, it's not going to put it together. So we're going to do what's called mapping, and I'll show you that through the import process, where we say, okay, the first that I have here is going to be tied, or take all the data down below and put it into the first name field, or that's called the first name field in the contacts. And so to exaggerate, to make a point, you don't want one of these fields, like last name, going into the first name incorrectly. So as long as you understand the labels and what they're tied to, then when we go through the import process, you'll be able to find those fields that are for the company and the title and the street, and be able to pull them together, map them. So when you click finish, it pulls in all the first names into the first name field, last names into the last name field, and so on. Whatever Outlook calls it, like instead of email, it'll be email address. So let's go ahead and do this. But before I close out, we need to go ahead and convert this. As you can see up in the title bar, the extension .xlsx, it needs to be a CSV file. So to do that, in Excel, go ahead and there's the Save As command. I'm going to click on that. Open up the Save As window, or you can go backstage, File to Save As, and then come down below and change the type from the Excel workbook .xlsx and find your, there you go, CSV, comma delimited, or CSV, comma separated value file. Select it, and then go ahead and click Save. And then it says some features in your workbook might be lost if you save it. Do you want to keep using the format? I'll say yes. And then you can see up here in the title bar, it's now the extension .csv. And if that's not recognizable enough for you, I mean, it's so tiny, you probably can't see it. Let's close out. On the desktop, we now have two files. We have my original workbook, and then we have the conversion when we saved it as a CSV file. So the icons are different, right? But what's interesting is that it still has the X on there that the operating system knows to open that up in the Excel program. Why is that? Because the extension .csv has been tagged by the operating system to open that up in the Excel program. And that's cool, but remember, the values in here are separated by commas, but when you double click on that, it's going to open up in Excel and you won't see those commas, because what it does is it translates and it says, okay, with every comma, we're going to have a value. So it would be like the first name, comma, last name, comma, company, so it automatically breaks them up and puts them into their own separate cells. As opposed to, let me close out, right-clicking on it, going down to Open With, and instead of Excel, we're going to open up Notepad, and that's what I'm talking about. There's the separated values, like the first name from the last name by a comma, comma separated value, comma, comma, comma. So the first row are your labels, the second row is the first record, Henrietta, then Jason, and Grant. So like I said, close out of that, it can see that, and quickly convert that and put those separated values by commas into their own cells. That's why it's still tagged to Excel, but you can right-click and open it up if you want in Notepad. So let's go ahead and import this, because it won't import an Excel workbook. It has to be a CSV file. Into our Outlook contacts, come down below and click on the button to restore our Outlook program, the window here. And before I go ahead and import that, let's go to our contacts, because in my personal folder, I have nothing here. So I'm showing you, I've got nothing up my sleeves. We're going to import them right into here, okay? I cleared it out from the earlier training videos where we had the people in there, moved them off over into the contacts folder, so we had an empty folder. Okay, now let's go ahead and import. Come up here, click on the File tab. Let's go down to Open and Export, click on it, and then down to Import Export, well, one and the same button. Let's just go ahead and click on it, and we get the option to import as opposed to export. So import from another program or file. With it selected, click Next. And then you can see here, the only option you get, well, the PST is not an option because that's an Outlook file, is the comma separated values, which is what we saved as from the Excel workbook into a CSV file. So select it, click Next. And then we need to find that CSV file, click on Browse. Come over here in the navigation pane, select Desktop, and it's right there. See that, CSV? And you can see down below, it's only looking for CSV. Won't see anything else. So let's go ahead and double click on it, so it points the address right to that file. So when we click Finish, it knows where the file's at and pulls in the data. Now the options are that you can replace duplicates with items imported. So if I already had contacts in here that had the same email address, name, it would replace those, overwrite them, or you can allow duplicates to be created. So if I had Carrie once listed here, there'd be Carrie twice, Carrie 3, as many can be created here, duplicates. So You can also do not import duplicate items. Well, since there's nothing in there, it doesn't matter to me, so I'll just go ahead and leave it as is and click Next. And then there we go. Okay, so what you're looking at here, that's the deleted items folder, so don't focus on those contacts there because we don't want to import them into the junk folder. Scroll up, there's the contacts folder, and in the contacts folder we've got these two other folders. So you could go ahead and select contacts, which is that right there. But I want to do the personal. So with personal selected, click Next. And then the following actions will be performed. It's going to import the CSV into the folder personal folder, which is right there. Now before I do that and click Finish, it's a good idea to click on Map Custom Fields because the fields that I have most likely, and I can tell you right now, do not match, so they are custom fields. Let me go ahead and click on it because, let's see, over here is the CSV file window, the fields that I have in that file. Then over to the right are all the fields that are available in Microsoft Outlook, the contacts folder. So you can see the field company, it's over here, company, it found that, and over here because it was the same name, it says, okay, we're mapping it. So whatever data you have over here in your CSV file underneath that company field will automatically pull into the company field. That's a field in the contacts. So that was easy if you got the same name, but you may not have memorized the names exactly as Outlook would accept it over here. So for example, we got first and last. Let me go ahead and expand the name. Okay, it calls it first name. So since I didn't have the label for that column, exactly first name, it couldn't see it, and so it's not mapping it and saying, okay, we'll go ahead and pull the first that you have as first name over into the first name field that we haven't labeled over here in the Outlook data folder. You can go ahead and go with what they've got here if it's a good match, or you can go ahead and clear all and then start from scratch. So you can say, well, in my data file, first means first name over here, the translation in the Outlook contact folder. Click and drag, let go, and there you go, it's mapped. So all my first name underneath that label is going to dump over into the first name field in Outlook, the contacts. And so then we got last for last name, and then we got title for title, and then let me scroll down just a bit, click and drag company on top of company, and let's see, we're now down to street. Let's go ahead and scroll down. That brings up a good point. Is this a business address or a home address? Let's expand the business address and call it the business street. Click and drag it to the business street. So if I had in my CSV file the label for that column, business street, it would have automatically mapped it because, hey, we got a match. But since it didn't see it, we have to do it manually. And then we do the city to the business. I don't know if it'll do it right there. Let me scroll down, try it again. There you go. City to business city, and let me go ahead and scroll down here. State to business state, and zippity-doo-dah to postal code. And then we have phone, that's next. Well, is this a business phone? Let's scroll down. There we go, there's the business phone. Let's go ahead and click and drag and say it is a business phone. In fact, you can hover in between the two column headers and click and drag out. Well, as soon as you see those arrows pointing in opposite directions, you can click and drag, and then you can see that's business phone and business phone 2. So there we go, and we've got a business fax. Let's click and drag that to the fax, and then scroll down. What we've got left, we have email and web. Let's go ahead and scroll down to our emails and click to expand it, and email address, that's what it is. So let me click and drag that on top of the email address, and then the web is for web page. Okay, so I didn't have it exactly spelled the way they had it, so it's not going to map it, but that's okay. I can click and drag it and say, make sure that that web page address in the file goes into the web page field that's in the Outlook contact. Everything looks good. Click OK. And then, by the way, if you don't map everything, that's okay. It just means that it's not going to import that data. Especially good if you don't want to import some of the data. You don't have to stop and think that it's not going to import all the others. It will. So when we're done, just go ahead and click Finish. Hey, there we go. Awesome. There's the owner, Grant Adams, double click, and everything looks good. When it comes to sorting your contacts, at face value, it depends upon the current view that you're in. So when I click on More, these first 3 views, well, like the business card, let me select that. When you want to sort it, you can find a blank area and right-click, and you can reverse the sort. Now, what is it sorting by? You wouldn't really know by looking at the face value unless you looked at the last name, comma first, So it's sorting by how it's being filed as, last name, comma, first B, then D, F, G, H, I, J, K, and so on. So I can flip that and have it go the other way, where the B's now down at the bottoms, going all the way up to the lower end of the alphabet, in this case the S's. So you can do it that way, or you can come up here and click on the View tab and you get the reverse sort as well, so it goes back to the way it was. And that's for, let me go back to the Home tab, for your business card, your card, and your people, because you don't get any other options. Well, that is, if you can find a blank area and right click to reverse the sort, and on the View tab in those three views, unless you want to go behind the scenes, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Instead, let's go ahead and cover the other two views on the Home tab. Go to the current view, click on More, go to the phone or the list. The phone, you get certain fields, you get the phones in there, as opposed to the list view, which you don't get the phones unless, of course, you want to scroll over to be able to see them there. In any case, let me go ahead and scroll back. It's pretty huge. But you get these headers for the columns, or the labels for the columns, that you can see when you get an arrow pointing up. Well, when you get an arrow at all, it means it's being sorted. When it's pointing up, it's ascending. When it's down, it's descending. When it's to the right, it's condescending. No, I'm kidding. Just up or down. So it's ascending. So it goes from the A's down to the Z's, or in this case, the B's down to the S's. When I click on it, I flip the sort, reverse it by how it's being filed as, and it goes from the S's, the lower end of the alphabet, up at the top, down to the B's, the upper end of the alphabet, down at the bottom. So you can do that on any one of these bars that I couldn't get in those other three views. Now, if you want to go to the other view and sort it by company, as I can do it here just by clicking on that column header, company, goes from the D's, it's sorting ascending, down to the M's, and you want to do that in the other view, click on More, go to the business. So I got D's here, then it goes L, and I want to be able to have, I think in the upper end of the alphabet, Dreamforce is going to be all up at the top, and then it'll sort down ascendingly by company. But how do I do it here in this view? You have to go behind the scenes. In other words, it's not up here where you can right click or on the View tab to say, okay, sort by company, and you can see the arrangement doesn't allow you to choose it, but you can click on View Settings here or over here. It's both the same view, so we'll click on it here, View Settings, and then you can click on Sort, and you can see right now it's being sorted by file as, and it's ascending. Click on the drop down arrow, and if you want to change that to, let's scroll up to company, and it's going to do it ascending, so A to Z's. Click OK, and there you go. Those that don't have a company name are up at the top, and then when you scroll down, the first one that does have a company name is the D's, and then we can keep scrolling down to G. So there it is ascending because G comes after D, and then L comes after G, and then M comes after L. Great. So you can do it that way, and you can do that in any view. So if you want to go ahead and switch views by coming up here on the Home tab, or if you're on the View tab, of course, you can come to the current view, and you don't have to leave this tab, just say Change View, and then choose it from here. So if you want to go back to maybe the phone view, you can, of course, go ahead and click on View Settings, then click on Sort, and be able to sort it as such. In fact, you can do what's called consecutive sort, so you can sort it by file as, and then by another sort after it sorts it first by file as. Let me click Cancel, and let's do this. Let's go ahead and have it sorted by company first, and then once it groups all the companies together, then within that company, let's go ahead and sort it by file as. So all those who are in Dreamforce, once they're sorted and grouped together, all the D's that is, then we can go ahead and say let's sort it by file as descending. So B for Barone, he'll be at the lower end of the Dreamforce sort, and those who are at the lower end of the alphabet, like me, K, I'll be at the top. Oh, that sounds fun. Let's go ahead and do that consecutive sort by either coming up here and clicking on the View Settings, or of course you can right click on any one of these column headers and go down to View Settings, as we went over in an earlier training video. Just to get to our Sort button, click on Sort. So you want to do by company first. Let's go ahead and do that. Ascending, and then we want to do it as file as. Select, and we'll do that descending, so the lower end of the alphabet will be up at the top after it's sorted by company first. Click OK, sorts it by company. So once it has all those grouped together by company, then it comes over here and it sorts it by file as descendingly. So it goes from the lower end of the alphabet R's all the way up to the B's for Barone. Great! And you can see up at the top here the headers. You've got the up and down arrows, and it's not going to tell you that it's sorting first by company, then by file as. If you go to the view settings, you'll be able to see which it's sorting by as first, or simply looking at it here and trying to do deductive reasoning like, okay, the D's, and then this is being flipped down, so it looks like company's being sorted first. And then if you want to go ahead and reset this or just change the sorts, like you want to go back to File As, click on it, it clears everything and it goes right to File As Ascending, the arrow again pointing up. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel to get notified of the latest videos. And for great specials on my products, please see the description below this video.